Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Namaan, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, let's jump straight into it. What got you into the professional services space, Namaan? What got you into consulting? What's the story?
Well, there's a short story and a long story. So
we are on a podcast. This is not TikTok. Give me the long one.
There's two main reasons how I got into this space. Number one is through relationship. So I started my career in government and politics, moved over to the nonprofit world. After that, did some of my own independent consulting, mostly around growth, and then ran into the individual who was running Management Consulted at the time. And we decided to work together on a pilot basis. We ended up hitting it off, and I joined the team, and the rest is history. So it was a relationship that led to a long-term partnership, but a mutual curiosity around how we could work and build together was really the number one reason I got into what I'm doing today. More broadly, why professional services is because no 2 days are alike. And I think you know this. You're always working with interesting people. You're solving different kinds of problems. There's this blend of structured analytical thinking yet creativity that's required. And that's what honestly keeps getting me out of bed every morning, is because I know that today is going to be different than yesterday.
Love it. So that's a lot of environments, context that you've been in. What's the problem that you guys solve now? Like, what is it that you help people achieve exactly?
We help organizations improve the speed and the quality of their decision-making. That in a nutshell is what we do. And the goal is that the leaders that we work with, that they're able to execute their strategy more effectively, they're able to align their teams faster, and they're able to ultimately drive better business outcomes. In a nutshell, that's what we do for our partners.
So I know when a firm is very well positioned, when they're able to break down the problem they solve in less than 10 seconds, which is exactly what you did. I love this. Who do you help making better decisions faster?
Great question. So before I get to the who, let me set a little bit of context, if you don't mind. So one of the things that I've learned throughout my career is just that organizations often, they're not suffering from a lack of intelligence, right? Like, our clients are really, really smart people. They're really, really capable. But often what I find is that there are organizations that suffer from slow, inconsistent, or unclear decision-making. Being smart and being capable doesn't necessarily mean that you move at the speed you need to move at. And so the organizations that we work with are mid-sized to large organizations who are experiencing growth and all the challenges that come with that. They're experiencing transformation, or they're experiencing increasing organizational complexity. And so, for example, maybe an organization's dealing with, an M&A integration. Maybe they're experiencing rapid growth. Maybe they're undergoing digital transformation. Maybe they have cross-functional collaboration challenges. So organizations like that often find that decision-making slows. And the slower you make decisions, the more money you leave on the table. And so we come in and ultimately help these organizations execute the strategy more effectively by improving how decisions get made at every level of the organization.
So I love this. In a day and age where things are changing so fast, for the obvious reason that we are all thinking about. Yes, AI, I've said it. This is invaluable. That said, the way you describe the problem, I'm like, every company needs this, right? But usually what we see is that if you're for everyone, you're for no one, really. So who is it that you're helping? Now that we have context.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really operational or executive leaders who say, inside of my team, like, we're experiencing a bottleneck, and the bottleneck really just comes down to I am the decision bottleneck as the leader, or we are experiencing stakeholder misalignment, or we have meeting overload. We're experiencing decision paralysis, right? Like we have a lot of information at our fingertips. Look, I'll say it too, since you open Pandora's box, AI, right? Like what does AI do? Is AI makes data a commodity. Everyone has access to the same information. So what then becomes your differentiator? Well, to me, it becomes, okay, number one, how do you extract insights from the data? And are they the right insights? And then number two, how do you use those insights to drive decision making? And so a lot of our partners, they're good at the insight piece, but they find that they're still dealing with misaligned stakeholders. They're still not making decisions fast enough. Decision quality is suffering, and so they're not able to use the insights that they're extracting to actually gain alignment and motivate action across the organization, which is actually where those insights are going to be operationalized.
So that is the positioning. How do you get the attention of the right decision makers, though? Like, what has worked for you guys to get the right people? Who are the right people, actually? Who do you want to talk to, Namaan?
Yeah. So there's really two main buyers, if you will, right? So like number one is you've got your kind of, CHROs, right? Your chief human resource officers. You have your heads of L&D. You have your COOs, right? So that would be kind of like one bucket. The other bucket would be like your business unit leaders, and then your executive leadership teams. So you have kind of one function that's really focused on what I'll call professional development, like across the board. And then you have another bucket of buyers who are really feeling the pain acutely because they're the ones who are leading and managing the teams. And so usually what ends up happening for us is that HR sponsors the engagement, but the business case is usually strongest when there's an operational or an executive leader who's championing the initiative. And so those are the folks, just to put it very plainly, that we're speaking to. And I think then you asked me how, right? Like, how do you get in front of these folks? Look, it's a mix. Like Coca-Cola, I can't give you the exact ingredients and the exact amount of the ingredients that goes into the secret recipe. But I can tell you some of what we're doing. So number one,
because you don't want, because it's secret, Namaan, or because you don't know?
I do know.
So it is it is like Coca-Cola, the secret play. Cool,
exactly. Makes sense. But I will say this. I don't know how helpful it would be for me to walk through like a recipe, because everybody's business is different. So I think what's more important is, okay, what are the broad level inputs? How are we thinking about, our growth efforts strategically? And then people can extract insights and lessons from those and apply them to their own businesses. And so really the way that we think about it is really short and long term. And so long term, we have become thought leaders in our space. And a big part of that is, look, before AI, we were writing. And so now again, like everyone's writing. It's amazing if you will look at like a chart of like how many like blog posts have been published since the advent of ChatGPT, how many peer-reviewed even research like pieces, journal pieces. It's incredible, right? But back in the day, if anybody can remember, right, like like thought leadership used to be a differentiator, and we've been writing since 2008. And one of the things that really helped us early on is that writing forced us to become clearer thinkers. You cannot be a clear writer if you're not a clear thinker. And going through this process of actually developing a point of view, of actually sharing what we've seen work in our own organization and across other organizations, writing about it in a way that's accessible. I hate jargon. I like plain speak. I like to talk to my clients in the language that they talk in. Really, over time, turned us into the experts in our space. And that, like, we are still experiencing the benefits of that really, really long tail that we started developing in 2008. So, and that sounds good, but I already know what people are thinking. They're like, okay, great. Like, I don't like have time for a 20-year strategy, So I understand that, but I do think it's important that, listeners start to develop their own thought leadership, their own differentiated perspective around whatever their core capability is. And if you're not doing that already, the best time to start was yesterday. The next best time to start is today. And so that has really proven to be a benefit to us. We We wrote a lot. We're on YouTube. We have our own podcast. I come on podcasts like this whenever people are gracious enough to have me. There's almost nothing that's too big or too small for me to say no to. And so there's, I think, a little bit of humility there that's involved as well. And then other than that, it's leveraging network effects. And it's just, honestly, it's just writing people and saying, look, I think that you have this problem based on other organizations I've worked with. Am I right or am I wrong? Right. And here's how I can help solve this problem. And if I'm wrong, tell me. I think I really don't mind, as long as you're adding value. I don't mind cold outreach. I've done it to great effect. I recently had a VP at a large social media platform tell me that the cold email I sent her earlier this year was the best one she'd ever received. And she ended up becoming a client. And so there's this mix of like passive inbound and active outbound. And, when you combine those two, it can become a powerful combination. But I think a lot of people shy away from the outbound because they're afraid of rejection. And it's like, look, I've got a solution to a problem I think you have. If I'm wrong, then tell me. It doesn't affect my day. And I'm okay being wrong. Right. I tell people all the time, being wrong isn't often what hurts you. It's your response to being wrong that's what hurts you. And so if you can use that as a learning experience, it's a win either way.
Preach. There are so many things I want to piggyback on here. Tell me more about this fear of outreach / cold outreach. So that clearly you guys don't have, or that if you have, you do it anyways. But one of the things that I struggle a lot with working with consultants, professional service firms, is that their reputation means everything to them, rightfully so. Like, you are a consultant that is in demand because you have good reputation. But they're so afraid of damaging that if they start reaching out to people saying, hey, actually, like, do you need help? Or like, hey, I'd like to give you this value for free, and we'll see where we go from there. What made you go for it? And obviously you guys at Management Consulted.
Yeah. Because we know we provide value. So we were pretty early to the webinar space, and we would just invite, we would send emails out and invite people to free webinars and calls that we would hold. And it was like, you know what, whether you ever work with us or not, I promise you this is going to be the most valuable hour of your week. And I really believed it. Right. And it's like, and we put a lot of time and effort and work into making sure, honestly, that our free stuff was better than anyone else's paid stuff. And that's really important to me. And so adding value through kind of those live touch points and engagements. By the way, those are also great trust building tools, right? Like, someone trusts you in a different way. Someone gets to know you in a different way, and vice versa. If you're able to connect with them kind of like audio visually. Right. So like, I love the writing. I love all of that. But like, in the day and age that we live in, people just don't connect with the written word the way they used to. They connect with names and faces. And so there's just a little bit of betting on myself and betting on our team. Like, we have a perspective, we're able to add value, we're enjoyable to be around. You know what? Even if you don't like what I have to say, I hope you'll be entertained for 30 minutes. Right. Like, and there's value even in that. Right. Like, I think that we were pretty early to being okay with showing our personalities, like, in a day and age where professional services firms are very stodgy and stuffy and boring, to be honest with you. And so that was kind of one tool that we used. Look, I'll be honest with you. I was literally still doing outreach this morning. Right. Like, and now we have a system, right? Like, it's not necessarily me like doing it all end to end, but I still oversee it. I'm still involved in the messaging. And one of the things that I was sending out this morning was like a decision effectiveness. I call it my decision effectiveness drift diagnostic. That's a mouthful. Okay. But really, it's 7 tactics that organizations can use to just self-assess and see if they're experiencing a problem that we could help them solve. And it's like, whether you ever write me back or not, I hope that you use that tool to just help self-assess your own team and your organization. The short answer is, if I'm adding value, I feel less weary of reaching out to people.
I mean, you're making my job way harder, Namaan, because I need to decide which point to follow up on and which point to leave aside for now. I'll say one thing that I feel will resonate with the audience here, just based on what you said. And that's when I was struggling to think, okay, but I don't like to sell. Why should I go into selling? And the answer from my mentor is, if your product is genuinely so good that you know it will help people, or 99% of the people you end up helping with, working with, it is your moral obligation to do everything you can to help those people. And not necessarily for my firm, but I think as a general reframe, like if you know you can actually change lives is a big word, right? We're not saving lives here. But we still can significantly impact bottom line, top line people, right? I mean, in your case, literally finding a job in the high ticket consulting space, others, leadership development, and so on. It's like this literally impact lives. And if you're doing a good job, it is your responsibility to help as many people as you can.
I think that's right. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Can I say one thing about the sales? Right? Because I think this is so important. I think the best consultants are the best salespeople. Honestly, because like your job is to go in and like gain alignment and motivate action. Like you might not always be selling a product or a service, but you're almost always selling an idea or a strategy or a next step. Yeah. And so I think that oftentimes salespeople in our space get a bad rap. They have a bad reputation, but like we're all salespeople for something. And I think the earlier you can get over that mental hurdle, the better it's going to be for you.
Amen to that. Talk to me about the podcast. I mean, you guys have built something quite impressive. I mean, the podcast is quite big. Why did you choose that medium? How do you make it work? And what benefit do you get out of it?
Yeah. Why did I choose the medium? I'd love to tell you that I embarked on like this 6-week research sprint, and I'd put together this incredible business case. And I was like, this is good, what the ROI is going to be in 12 months. And we have to do this. Honestly, we started the podcast for 2 reasons. Number one, I was a consumer of podcast content and I could just intuitively see where the space was going. And I knew that people were reaching me they're reaching me in a time and a place where I was engaged. And I was willing to listen to 45-minute episodes where I would not even give like a 10-second ad on Facebook or LinkedIn a second chance, right? And so there was like this engagement piece that was special to podcast. That was number one. And then number two, COVID happened, and we had to pivot very quickly and start to get in front of people in different ways. And like we were off the road, and it was like, okay, like the conferences we used to go to, we can't go to. The in-person meetings we used to have, we can't have. So we have to do podcasts, and it forced our hand a little bit. So that's the reason why. Why I love podcasts really is because I think that they give you, and I don't want this to sound wrong, but I think what podcasts do give you is intimacy at scale, right? Is like, I can't tell you how many people have come up to me, right, where like I've been at an event and they're so excited to meet me because like I've listened to you on the podcast, right? And this is what they say. They say, I take you to the gym with me. I take you in the car with me. Like if someone had read something that I'd written, they wouldn't say, I take you in the car with me. I take you to the gym with me. There's this like different level of intimacy that happens. And maybe that's the wrong word. You can give me a better word, but there's this different level of connection that happens, right? When you are in someone's ears, right? And when they are walking around and they can hear you. And honestly, for us, podcasts are just a way to establish thought leadership, to help people, and ultimately to build trust. If you don't like us on the podcast, you're probably not going to like working with us, and that's okay. If you do like what we have to say on the podcast and you're intrigued, okay, great. Like you're a more qualified lead. That's good for us. Also, like you have some certainty that if you get on a 15-minute call with me, it's not going to be a complete waste of your time either, because you already have a sense of the way that we think about things, our methodology, who we serve, how we serve them. And so it's just been this massive win-win, and really one of the decisions that I'm most proud of at the company.
Again, you're giving me too much things to follow up on, but I'll resume it to this. I'll summarize it to this: trust building, gold. talk to me about the next steps. So you have an interesting model. You help people get a job in MBBs mainly, but I suspect it's overall in the high-level consulting space. It's so funny because I didn't know about you guys back then, but back in 2020, when I was looking at getting hired by PwC, I looked into something like what you guys do. I actually purchased the course, and everything that I learned from it definitely helped me get the job. So I know these type of things work. How do you move from trust, thought leadership, outreach, without giving us the secret sauce, to a sale? I was going to ask about sales calls, but people can just check out on the website, right? So do you at any point get in touch with the candidates? How does sales work in your space, Namaan?
Yeah. Well, what's unique about us is we really have 4 different businesses in one. And I think you're alluding to like one business line, and the answer is different depending on the business line. So
okay.
if I could give you like 20 seconds of context. So we serve job seekers, like people who want to break into management consulting.
Yeah.
Right. I'll call that B2C. That's the consumer side of our business. We serve universities. We teach at over 150 universities and business schools a year. We go in and we teach business skills. We serve corporates. That's really who I've been talking about today with this kind of decision effectiveness training.
Perfect.
We'll come in and we'll serve them. And then honestly, we're a media company as well. We have over 4 million readers and listeners a year. And if we don't think of ourselves as a media company, we're not going to be able to sustain and grow that audience. And so we're a very diverse business, and the sales cycle and the sales strategy really depends on which line of business you're talking about. So would you like me to talk about kind of B2C, or would you like more talk about B2B?
B2B, please.
Okay, great. So we've talked a lot about already the trust building. Okay, great. How do you move people from trusting you to working with you? And I think it's really just a matter of being in front of them consistently enough, and then being very, very clear with your messaging. I think one of the things that I find a lot of professional services firms do is they're pretty soft in their messaging. It's like, we can help, it's kind of the mantra, where I usually I'm a little bit bolder in terms of like what we're saying, like on podcasts, what we're saying on webinars, what we're writing people in our emails. It's like, we think you have this problem. Here's why we think it. Here's how we help. Wouldn't it be great if like this problem was solved for you, right? And by the way, like here who else works with us, right? Like I'm not some like crazy random guy in his mom's basement who's writing you, right? Like, and so and then here's a thought leadership piece. Here's a diagnostic. Here's a podcast, right? And over time, right? Like when you ask people, hey, like, is this worth 10 minutes of your time to explore? They're like, yeah, because I see the value. I see that you work with my competitive set, and actually the things you've already sent me have helped me. And so it's just being very intentional with the journey you're leading the buyer on, is the high level answer to your question.
I love this. How do you, again, without revealing the secret sauce, but I'm interested into hearing your thoughts on this. Mid-funnel, when you say we share this podcast, we share these thought leadership pieces of content, that's something we are working on with some of our clients right now. And I think this will be helping the audience. How do you select what to send? And the question has kind of two folds here. One, how do you know what type of content to make in the first place that you can feed to people you're in conversation with to move the needle? And two, once you have that repository of content, thought leadership, helpful, educational, case studies, testimonials, industry insights, and so on, how do you pick the right one for the right prospect?
Yeah. So how do I know? Number one, I pay attention to what people are searching for and what people are looking for. Yep. Number two, right? Like, let people tell you what they care about. Like, we don't have to overcomplicate that piece. Number two, I ask my team to pay a lot of attention when we're talking to our clients and our prospects. And we've gotten good over time at listening for pain points good over time at listening for objections, good over time at uncovering like what the question is behind the question. And so I can't tell you like how much collateral and just kind of how many pieces of thought leadership we've created as a direct result of a conversation we had with someone. How many podcast episodes we've done because I came back to our team and we were like, I just had this amazing conversation. I never thought of this before. If this organization or this person is struggling with this, then there's 1,000 others out there just like them. Right. And so that's how we decide what to build. And then, okay, out of that repository of all of this amazing stuff, like what do you send out? It really comes back to what kind of organization it is. Like, what's the size? What's the sector? And then what's the role and the function of the person who the key stakeholder is? And those are really the inputs that I use to determine, okay, what's going to be most relevant for them.
Once you're in, so I'm thinking again more on the B2B side of things. Once you're in and you help people make decisions faster, then what? How do you guys think about client retention, recurring revenues, or reoccurring revenues? How do you guys think about that?
Yeah, usually what we'll do is we'll start with a pilot program or an executive workshop or a targeted leadership cohort. And then, eventually we'll move to broader enterprise rollouts. And so let's prove that I am very okay with betting on myself and betting on our team. Let's prove the concept. And then like, if it works for you, it's going to work organization wide. So that's really how we think about kind of expanding the relationship long-term. And then also there's, in the work that we do, there's always a need for follow-on coaching. There's always a need for recurring touch points because what we're really teaching people is a new way to think, a new way to operate, a new way to structure their organization. And you know what? Like, just to be honest with you, I think one touch point with us is going to be helpful for you in the short term, but is it going to permanently change behavior? Not for everybody. And so if you're looking to kind of remain in an optimized state, then you'll recognize as the client that re-engagement or some different kind of follow-on engagement is probably necessary. And once you've experienced kind of what a more optimized decision state can look like, you don't want to go back. And you can start to see people, they drift, they fall back into old habits, bad habits, 6, 12, 18 months down the road. It's just human nature. And so over time, our goal is to work ourselves out of a job. But you know what? Like, there's so much opportunity inside of these large matrixed organizations that it can take multiple years for some of these broader enterprise rollouts to fully happen.
I like your style, Namaan, if in case people didn't notice yet. So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball question at you now, if you don't mind. What is your guys' number one challenge right now? What is the one nut that you're trying to crack that, once you crack, you take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
That's a good question. Not to oversimplify things, but I usually see kind of challenges in one of two ways, right? Like, sometimes you have what I'll call a growth challenge. Other times you have like a capacity challenge, right? And we're actually we're not experiencing a challenge in either area right now, but the easier problem to solve, honestly, is always capacity, right? The more difficult problem to solve, if it even is a problem, is just, you know what? Like, an even bigger pipeline, right? Like, even more qualified leads, right? Like, I'm sure like we could do a better job of kind of optimizing our customer journey and optimizing our funnel, right? Like, you're constantly iterating on these things. You've never arrived. You're always on the journey. And so I hesitate to call it a problem because I don't think it's a challenge or a problem, but I think that's our bigger opportunity. It's just that there are more organizations out there that really could use what we offer and just aren't working with us yet.
How are you going to reach them?
Honestly, everything we've been talking about today.
Yeah. I love it. One note on this, which is, it is about constant iteration, constant improvements. I think and I've seen this firsthand at PwC, and I'm sure you've seen this many times, consultants, people listening to us right now, get rewarded for getting the perfect answer and having it all figured out in their specific niche, in their specific field, obviously. But it's like, that's the spirit of a consultant. And so when it comes to outreach, when it comes to growing the business in a way that they haven't done before, it's always like, oh, but this is going to lead to certain failures. Yes, 100%. That's the point. And this is where you move from a very high-paying job to business owner, when you start taking those risks, investing into yourself or just some experiences, and try to constantly iterating and improving as you go. Namaan, ladies and gentlemen, Namaan, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. So would love to continue the conversation with you there. And then you can always go to managementconsulted.com as well and check out some of the work that we do for organizations. We, like I said, our job is to help organizations improve the speed and quality of their decision making. And we do that through, helping organizations with project management, working with them on executive communication. You can check out our programs on managementconsulted.com. And yes, please do connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
We'll put all the links in the description. One thing I can say for sure is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview, Namaan. Me, I've just added you. Namaan, thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.